It sounds like you just described the last 3.5 years of the United States.
Yes.
Yeah, I was reading how to catch pigs in the wild. In Texas, there's a lot of these wild pigs. And so you put a post in the ground and you throw some corn down. The pigs come, eat the corn, ignore the post. Second day, there's 2 posts in the ground. Pigs come, eat the corn, ignore the post. Third day, another post, and you start putting them in a semicircle, and then you start closing it in as a circle. Keep throwing that corn down, until finally there's just a little opening. And the pigs squeeze through the opening, eat the corn, and you shut the gate. And you caught yourself some wild pigs. And so it's this dependency. And so you see these tactics of fear and free stuff used throughout the Cold War, throughout the world. I actually go through Bible examples. So how do you get people into fear? You have to sow discord. There has to be something unsettling. And so there's a whole study of how to sow discord. And, imagine being in heaven and somebody sowing discord in heaven. Well, it happened. Lucifer, right? The word devil in Greek, diabolos, means to divide, to sow discord. And so he's cast out with a third of the angels and goes into the garden and he sows discord. Adam blaming Eve, sows discord, Cain killing Abel. And then there is the Hebrew Republic, this 400 years with no king, and Gideon defeats 100,000 Midianites. Nobody's thinking about invading Israel, but Gideon has an illegitimate son, Abimelech, and he wants power, so he goes to the town of Shechem, and he does critical race theory, right? He says, is it better for you that the sons of Gideon reign over you? Remember also that I am your flesh and your bone. And then the people say, well, we have to vote for Abimelech because he is our brother. And they go to the temple of Baal-berith, the city treasury, and they take money to hire rioters, like Antifa type people, and vain and worthless persons which followed him. And to do what? To commit violence and to kill the half-brothers, the sons of Gideon. And then in the confusion, Abimelech makes himself king. So you take a country that's completely at peace, but on the inside, you sow division based on this class identity, and then you pit them against each other, and in the confusion, you seize power. And so I go through Machiavelli 500 years ago. Italy was a bunch of city-states that always fought. Machiavelli thought if one prince could control all of Italy, it would stop the infighting. So he writes a book called The Prince, where he advocates the ends justifies the means. The end of one prince controlling all of Italy is such a good end, because it'll stop the infighting, that any means necessary to get there is justified. Lie, cheat, steal. So if the prince wants to conquer a city, and the city does not want to be conquered, they would hate him. But if the prince pays criminals, like Abimelech did, to commit violence, smash windows, set things on fire, the people will panic and cry out for help, and the prince will come in and get rid of the very criminals he bribed to create the mess. Nobody will know the better for it, and everyone will praise the prince as a hero. So it's good marketing. You create the need and fill it. You go around the back of the house, set it on fire, then you go around the front of the house, sell them a fire extinguisher. And they'll pay anything for it and even thank you for being there. So it's called Machiavellianism, where you create or capitalize on a crisis to consolidate control. Fast forward, Germany in the 1800s was not Germany. It was a bunch of kingdoms. Prussia, Bavaria, Saxony, they always fought. A guy named Hegel, University of Berlin, who had a student named Karl Marx, Hegel came up with an idea to help Frederick, the king, consolidate and conquer other kingdoms. And so he took Machiavelli, turned it into a nice, neat triangle. One corner is a thesis, opposite corner an antithesis, top corner a synthesis. Sounds complicated, it's not. You start off with the status quo, you create a problem that's real bad, everybody panics in fear, gives up their freedom to settle for an answer that's half as bad. That becomes the new starting point. You create another problem that's real bad, everybody panics in fear, surrenders some more of their freedom to settle for an answer that's just half as bad. That becomes the new starting point. You create another problem that's real bad, everybody panics in fear, surrenders some more of their freedom to settle for an answer that's half, and each time they settle, they're giving up their individual freedom to the state. And so it's called Machiavellianism, where you create or capitalize on a crisis to consolidate control. And so you basically take that model and apply it. The British became the biggest empire in the world. How? Did they just walk into a country and say, hi, we want to be the biggest empire in the world? Oh, yeah, here are the keys. No, let's look at how they took over India. In 1714, the British opened a trading post that turned into a trading fort that turned into them having guns. And they would give guns to one kingdom, guns to another kingdom, and then stir up division between them, right? Diabolos. They would, and they would get them to fight each other and bloody each other up and weaken each other. And then the British would come in to restore order and conquer both of the weakened kingdoms. And they did this again and again until they took over all of India, a quarter of the world's population. And so these tactics were used during the Cold War. You had, after World War II, countries in Europe were getting started, Albania, Romania, Greece, India, and they were doing republics, and the KGB did not like that. So they'd come in and do what's called critical theory. They'd observe all the groups, ethnically, racially, economically, religiously, and they would call some victims, others oppressors, haves and have-nots. They'd pit them against each other to cause this internal crises, and then in the confusion, they would seize power and put in a Soviet puppet. And so it's, in a sense, introducing an autoimmune disease into the body politic. What's an autoimmune disease? It's where your own immune system starts attacking your own organs. You got a war going on inside of your own body. Jesus said a house divided against itself cannot stand, right? And so this is the tactic that has been used in other countries to, the Soviets would do it, and then the CIA would do it in reverse to try to get the Soviet-leaning countries to have a leader that's more American friendly. But now we see these tactics, particularly under Obama, being used against our own population for political purposes.
You mentioned Obama. Do you mean Biden, or is it the same thing we're talking about?
Sounds the same thing to me.